A section contains how many acres? 640. The way streets and avenues become named, dedicated, is by filing a subdivision plat. The three methods of legal description are metes and bounds, rectangular gov survey, and lot, block, subdivision. A property that is allowed to be used as a bar where bars are no longer allowed is grandfathered in, aka non-conforming use. A building that cannot comply with a setback on a building site applies for a variance. Changing the law for an entire area, legislators complete an amendment. Testing to see if personal property is a fixture, we use the AAA method. AAA stands for adaptation, attachment to agreement. If a tenant installs personal property and leaves it behind after the lease, what is it called and who keeps it? Trade fixture, and the landlord gets to keep it. Another name for personal property is chattel. Metes and bounds legal description starts and ends at point of beginning, aka starting point. Records are recorded and researched at what level of government? County. The government has 4 rights in land. What are they? Property taxes, eminent domain, police power, escheat. Inspections, permits and zoning are the restrictions the government has under which right? Police power. The maximum estate in real estate is fee simple absolute. True or false? Fee simple absolute and fee simple defeasible. Determinable last forever. True defeasible. Determinable. As long as a condition is met. How does a person end an estate at will month to month? 1 month notice or death. True or false? A 6-month lease is an estate 4 years. True. It has a specific ending, expiration date. Liens, easements, deed restrictions and encroachments are an encumbrance on property. True. A deed restriction, i.e. an association, has a no-pet policy for a future owners is binding on all future owners. Easements must be for a purpose. Specific. Encroachments are discovered by doing a survey. A property owned by one person is known as an estate in severalty. In tenants in common, one of the owners dies. Does their interest go to the remaining owners? No, it passes to their heirs. In joint tenancy it does. Condos are created by filing a document called a declaration. True or false? Common elements are owned collectively as tenants in common. True. The percent of ownership of common elements stays with the condo unit. Condos have an association, which does the following: holds an annual meeting, charges assessments, maintains insurance on common elements. Sellers of condos must give buyers the rules, regulations, bylaws, etc., and allow them to review them for 10 days. Cooperatives own the real estate. Each of the occupants has a share of stock, proprietary lease. In a cooperative, who pays the property taxes? The association, not the unit occupants. Do both condos and coop occupants pay monthly assessments? Have an association manage the building and manage the common elements? Yes. Who must sign a deed to make it valid? Grantor seller. When does ownership, title pass to the buyer? Upon delivery and acceptance of the deed from the seller to the buyer, except for torrents, property, title passes upon recording. The best deed for a buyer grantee to general warranty deed. The deed which only warrants against title defects during the grantor's ownership period is limited special warranty deed. The deed with no warranties, promises or guarantees and is best for the grantor is quitclaim deed. Another name for an encumbrance on title is a cloud on title. The laws governing contracts is called the statute of frauds. All real estate contracts must be in writing except for leases for less than 1 year 12 months. A beer enters into a contract while under the influence of alcohol. What is the enforceability of the contract? It is voidable by the beer. Mutual agreement of contract terms means that there is what between beer and seller. Offer and communication of acceptance before the offer is withdrawn. A rejection of the offer and formulating a new offer is called a counter-offer. To add some items, contingencies, covenants, etc., to a contract, they would be added on an addendum. Changing an already accepted contract requires what? Amendment signed by all parties. Owner-purchase agreement. The items required to be included are signatures by all parties, legal description, price, financing terms. Which is better for a seller? Right of first refusal or an option contract? Right of first refusal. A lease where the tenant pays a fixed amount, which includes all utilities, is a gross lease. On a contract for deed, aka land contract, the party responsible for recording the sale is the vendee beer. What form of title does the vendee hold in a contract for deed? Equitable title. If the vendor wants to sell the property, what must they do with their contract for deed? Assign to a new owner. To demand a commission, a broker, agent must have the agreement in writing. A clause required to be in the listing agreement and beer rep contract which speaks about compensation is the negotiable commission clause. Can a listing or beer contract automatically renew? No. It must have a beginning and ending date. Both can be extended by amending the current contract or creating a new one. A broker salesperson who wants to protect their commission just provide a list of buyers they showed the property to. How soon after the expiration? 72 hours. Which listing contract provides maximum protection to the broker and maximum performance to the seller? Exclusive right to sell. Who can find a beer and then not need to pay a commission under the exclusive agency listing? The seller. What kind of facts must a seller disclose to buyers? Material facts. When must a licensee disclose agency options to a prospect beer or seller? At one substantive contact. When must a seller provide a disclosure about their property to a beer? Before the beer writes an offer. The items that do not need to be disclosed by the seller include owner or occupant has AIDS or HIV, suicide, accidental or natural death, murder must be disclosed, perceived paranormal activity, located near a community-based facility or sexual predators, as long as they give the beer a written notice of where to find info. The department which oversees level 3 sexual predators is the Depth of Corrections. The commissioner who oversees usury interest rate ceiling rates is Commissioner of Banking. Property managers have the following responsibilities: financial, physical, administrative management. Property managers maintain the value of the building, the improvement maintenance. Principles in real estate transaction are buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, property owner. Principals may only pay whom? Brokers. The clause in a mortgage that allows the lender to demand immediate repayment is acceleration clause. If you sell your property while there is a mortgage and don't pay it off, the mortgage company wants to be paid. This is called the due on sale clause or the alienation clause. The redemption period that happens before and then after the sheriff's sale is before, equitable, after, statutory. In a foreclosure by advertisement, how much advance notice must the lender give in person and in ads? 4 weeks personal notice and 6 weeks advertised. A statutory redemption period is usually 6 months. It can be 12 months if mortgage is more than 1/3 paid, more than 40 acres raw, hunting, etc., more than 10 acres if agricultural use. It can be 5 weeks if the property is abandoned, After a sheriff's sale, the high bidder new owner can hire a property MGR, change the locks, drive by, and inspect the property. An interest-only loan is called a term or straight loan. A fully amortized loan has a balance of how much at the end of the loan? 0. What do we call a final payment that is larger than the previous payments? Balloon. To calm borrowers' fears about an adjustable rate mortgage, ARM loans have a cap limit on adjustment, are tied to an economic index indicator. PITI stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The mortgage that a loan to buy real estate and personal property is called a package mortgage. When more than one parcel of real estate is pledged for a mortgage, it is called blanket mortgage. The loan that a lender will make on a property is based on what figure? Price or appraisal, whichever is less. The receipt that shows a loan is paid in full is called a satisfaction. True or false, a promissory note is personal property. True. It is based on a personal pledge, and there is no collateral used other than the bear's good word. Who sets the standards for the public recording process? City, county, or state? State. The county is responsible for organizing and maintaining records. For a deed to be recorded, it must be notarized, signed by the seller. Taxes must be paid. State deed tax equals seller, and more. Registry tax equals beer. Which title shows all the recorded documents of a property? Abstract. Who checks out the title and prepares a report that identifies the condition of the title? Title examiner or attorney. Which title is registered with the county? Title examiner or attorney. When a person dies without a will, they have died. Torrens. When a person dies without a will, they have died. Intestate. When a person dies with a will, they have died. Testate. Under RESPA, a lender must give what document to a mortgage applicant, and within how many? Testate loan estimate within 3 business days after application. BIA can review the closing disclosures within. BIA can review the closing disclosures within. What is the legal term to let everyone know who owns a property by recording at the county? Constructive notice. Which government loan insures loans to protect lenders? FHA, Federal Housing Administration. If a veteran wants a VA loan, they must provide 2 certificates. Certificate of eligibility obtained from the VA, and certificate of reasonable value, provided at closing showing sale price and costs. The law which requires disclosures of loan costs, appraisal fees, origination fees, etc. Regulation Z. The 2 figures a licensee can use in their ads to comply Reg. ZR. Price and APR, otherwise it triggers full disclosure of loan costs. The true cost of the loan, and what buyers should use as their comparison when shopping for loans, is expressed as the APR, annual percentage rate. Under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, lenders are prohibited from discriminating in race, color, religion, national origin, sex and marital status, age, and public assistance. Selling your principal residence at a profit. How much is excluded from capital gains tax? $250,000 single and $500,000 married. How long must you live there to consider it a principal residence? Out of the last 5 years. An appraiser's compensation is based on what? Time and effort to do the appraisal. The guideline for an appraiser requiring objectivity, credibility, impartiality, unbiased, and with trust is Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practices, USPAP. Appraisers may belong to a group called the Appraisal Institute, member of the Appraisal Institute MAIL. Neighborhoods go through life cycles of growth, stability, decline and rejuvenation. When an underimproved property value increases, it is called progression. An appraiser considers time on the market, amenities, size SQ, FD, but not what the buyer is willing to pay or what the seller paid, to create an exact replica approach of a property. This is called reproduction cost approach. What depreciation cannot be fixed, economic, locational obsolescence, deferred maintenance, and functional obsolescence can be cured. When forming an opinion of value on an income-producing property, appraisers will consider the return on investment. This is called capitalization. The most important figure to an appraiser in the income approach HV is the net operating income NOI. A residential building is considered all of the following: single family to include condo, townhouse, co-op, duplex, triplex and fourplex. The 6 components of a fiduciary relationship are old CA are obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting and reasonable care. All licensees have a common law duty to all consumers. The 2 duties are honesty and fair dealing. In a universal agency relationship, one person replaces another and acts on their behalf. This is evidenced in writing and is called power of attorney. The person who replaced another is called an attorney in fact. In a dual agency transaction, the 3 items that may never be shared with the other party are price, terms, financing, and motivation. A facilitator, sometimes called a transaction coordinator, only owes one duty to their client, and it is confidentiality. Other people's money, earnest money, rent collected for a client, are held in the broker's trust account. Money must be deposited into the trust account within 3 business days of receipt, unless otherwise agreed to by all parties. Mixing business money with trust money is commingling. Using trust funds for personal reasons is conversion. All paperwork must be retained for 6 years. The 7 protected classes under federal fair housing laws are race, religion, color, sex, familial status, handicap, disability, and national origin. Realtors really can sell fancy houses now. The 3 extra protected classes for Minnesota are marital status, sexual orientation, and public assistance MSP. Telling a client that they should move to an area with people like them is called steering. Scaring people so that they will list their house by telling them a protected class is moving in, and there will be a negative impact by this action is steering. Blockbusting. When a lender refuses to lend to people based on where they live, a certain neighborhood is called redlining. Discrimination complaints must be filed with HUD, Housing and Urban Development, within 1 year. Brokers must display what poster in all offices? Equal housing poster. A handicap or disability protected class includes personal with major life impairments can't walk, see, hear, alcoholics using or recovering drug addicts, persons with AIDS or HIV, mental illness. True or false? A landlord must allow a disabled tenant to install a ramp. True. At the tenant's expense, and the property must be returned to its original condition at the end of the lease. New construction commercial buildings must be made handicap accessible if readily achievable. CLO stands for Computerized Loan Origination, an electronic network for handling loan applications through remote computer terminals linked to several lenders. What is the difference between a deed and an easement? A deed transfers ownership, and the easement allows the use of property. What is the purpose for a seller buying a home warranty for a buyer? Risk reduction. What is an unacceptable example of a 1031 tax-deferred exchange? A single-family home for a duplex. A broker receives a birthday gift in the form of a check and puts it into the trust account. What is this called? Commingling. True or false? With riparian rights, the owner has the right to dam up the water. False. A mortgage is which type of lien? Voluntary. Specific. True or false? A lender is given a deed in lieu of foreclosure by the owner. All junior liens are extinguished. False. Another name for a contract for deed is a land contractor. Installment contract. If a seller asks you not to disclose a certain material fact, what should you do? Do not list the property due to seller's instructions. The lead-based paint addendum allows the buyers to waive the 10 inspection period. The clause that is found in both the note and the mortgage is acceleration clause.